Britain denies its own history. Hardly anybody in Britain has any idea of what Britain did to the Jews in the 1930s, in which Britain ripped up international law under which it was obliged to settle the Jews alone throughout what is now Israel, the disputed territories of the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and Gaza, on the basis that only the Jews were entitled to live there, because it was only the Jews for whom that was ever their national kingdom. Britain had accepted that duty. In the 1930s, it tore it up. And under the pressure of the terrorism and the pogroms that were being conducted by Hitler's ally in the Middle East, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who had promised Hitler that if Hitler came to power, the Grand Mufti would annihilate every Jew in the Middle East. Under the leadership of this terrible man, the Arabs of what was then Mandate Palestine were waging a terrorist war against both the Jews and the British. And faced with this, the British then tore up international law and offered the Arabs part of what the Jews alone were entitled to. That was the original two-state solution invented by the British, in which they offered the Arabs a state of their own as a reward, as an inducement, as a means of stopping, but basically in response to a campaign of genocide against the Jews. The British decided to give the people waging that war a reward. That was the two-state solution. It's a reward for genocidal aggression, and the British are still at it. This whole terrible century-old war of annihilation against the ancestral Jewish homeland being reborn in this country is ultimately the fault of Britain, because it set in train the idea in the West that in order to bring peace in the Middle East, you had to reward the people who were waging a campaign of genocidal terror, which you would rebrand as a land boundary dispute between two peoples who were entitled to the same patch of land. So this is what Israel should be saying publicly about Britain. Israel doesn't say anything about this ever.